The following is a paid advertisement for Meg Whitman for Governor 2010.
Hello, everybody. How are you tonight? Great. We're so happy that you're here tonight for what we're calling Ask Meg. As you know, California is facing a tremendously important election coming up this fall. And we're lucky enough tonight to have one of the candidates with us. As the CEO of eBay, she grew this company from just 30 employees to 15,000. Amazing numbers. But now, with California facing some tremendously tough challenges over the next year, and different from what we've faced in the past decade, she is now a Republican candidate for the office of governor of this great state of California. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Meg Whitman.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great to see you.
Yeah, perfect.
As you can see, everybody is very excited that you're here. We have a lot of tough questions for you to answer tonight, so let's get right to it. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Rick. Can we give Rick a hand? He does a great job. Thank you. So let me add my welcome to you tonight for coming. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I thought what I might do is just tell you a little bit about myself, because many of you don't know my background and we've not met before. I've had a career that really exceeded all my expectations, which, as Rick said, ended with, of course, eBay, where I took eBay from 30 employees, as you said, to 15,000, from $4.7 million in revenue to nearly $8 billion in revenue. But the fact that I'm most proud of is today over 1 million people make most, if not all, of their living selling on eBay. It became the home of small business on the internet. So I decided to run for governor. And the reason I did is I just refused to let California fail. And make no mistake about it, our state faces the most serious challenges I've seen since we moved here in 1981. So the approach I want to take is a different approach. I want to focus on 3 things. I'm a big believer in focus. In business and in life, if you can do 3 things really well, far better than 10 things at 10%. So I want to focus on just 3 things for California: creating and keeping jobs in California. If we don't, thank you. If we don't put people back to work, there is no way out of this mess. Second, I want to cut government spending. Trust me when I tell you. I've been deep into the financials of California. Trust me when I tell you, we do not have a revenue problem. We have a spending problem of epic proportions. And then last but not least, we have to fix our kindergarten through 12th grade education system. You probably know we're ranked near the bottom, 48th in reading, 43rd in science. I mean, think about that for a second. In the 50s, we had the #1 public school system in America, and look where we are now. And it is not okay to deny the vast majority of kids a chance at the California dream. So those are the 3 things I want to accomplish. But if we don't do these 3 things, I'm not sure it matters what else we do. So why don't we start with questions? Who wants to go first? All right.
I'm losing businesses in my city. They're leaving, especially the manufacturing sector. So what are you going to do to keep businesses in not only my city, but in the entire state of California so they don't leave and go someplace else?
Great question. And you're right, we are bleeding jobs to Arizona, Colorado, Utah, Texas, Nevada. And the reason is it's easier to do business in those states. First thing I think we need to do is put in a series of targeted tax cuts that are going to get hiring going fast. And I'll give you a couple of good examples. First is, I think we need to eliminate the factory tax. We're one of only a handful of states where manufacturers have to pay a sales tax on the equipment they buy to utilize to manufacture in California. You know what that's resulted in? We've lost 600,000 manufacturing jobs since 2000, 32% of the industrial base. So I want to take a very focused approach. I want to look at everything through one lens. Does it create jobs in California? Does it keep jobs in California? So how about we eliminate the factory tax and don't require people to pay sales tax on the equipment they buy? That will keep businesses in California and will shore up our manufacturing base. Another example is the startup tax. We're, again, a handful of states that before you hire a single person, before you produce a single product or service, you have to pay an $800 LLC fee. So these are the kinds of things I want to do. I want to increase the R&D tax credit to 20% from 15%. I want to make sure we have accelerated depreciation schedules for small business so that your cash flow comes in soon so you can invest in your business in California. If we don't get people back to work right away, there is no way out of this mess. So let's get people back to work, get hiring going, cut government spending, and then what we do is we turbocharge the economy by doing an across-the-board tax cut. So I am for across-the-board tax cuts, but I actually am the realist here. You know, in some ways, I'm the grown-up in the room. The truth is, thank you. The truth is, we can't afford it right now. So targeted tax cuts, cut government spending, then invest in across-the-board tax cuts. And that is the formula I believe is the most responsible for digging our way out of the hole. The second thing I want to do is streamline regulation. Regulation in California is strangling businesses of all sizes. As I have traveled the state, I've gotten an earful on taxes, but I will tell you, regulation is killing businesses. I want to put a moratorium on all new regulations. Let's stop the insanity, streamline the regulations that we have. We have agencies that compete with one another to regulate in California. Let's stop that and make it possible to do business in the state. And I think we can make a big change here. You might know that I am one of the first candidates for governor that called for putting a one-year moratorium on the implementation of AB 32. This is a job killer, and we are once again disadvantaging California. And we have got to stop doing things that makes it easier to do business in neighboring states.
If you would like to know more about where Meg stands on the issues, you need to get this. This is her latest policy paper. And if you'd like to get more involved in her campaign, that's easy too. You simply go to megwhitman.com. We'll be right back.
Meg Whitman's plan tackles California's three biggest challenges: keeping and creating jobs, cutting Sacramento spending, and fixing our education system. Meg's plan calls for targeted tax cuts, a strict spending cap, and sending more money right to the classroom. Read the 48-page plan for yourself. Get your free copy online, via text message, or by phone. Building a new California won't be easy. It starts with the right plan.
We want to welcome you back now to Ask Meg. We know that this audience has a lot more questions to ask. Let's get to it now. Meg.
All right, next question on any subject. Yeah.
Hi, Teresa Hernandez, Newport Beach. The public service unions are just crippling California. How, if you are elected governor, would you be able to work with the unions? I think that's just so important to getting anything done in California.
You're absolutely right. The unions have taken on so much power in this state. About 12% of Californians work for a union, and I think they have almost all the power. I mean, it is remarkable what has happened here. And so we're going to have to take on the Public Service Union on a number of different fronts. And first and foremost is the pension crisis. Everyone in California probably knows that we have a $60 billion unfunded pension liability, which means we owe the civil servants of the state of California $60 billion more than we can foresee ourselves paying right now. So we have to renegotiate those pensions. We have to increase the retirement age for many of the civil servants. People are going to have to contribute more to their retirement program. We're going to have to extend vesting, and new civil servants are going to have to come in under a different deal. The other thing I am very interested in is the reform, which used to be called Paycheck Protection, now is called the Citizens Power Initiative. The unions this year will probably put into this election cycle over $100 million at the constitutional officer level, at the assembly level, at the Senate level. In fact, the unions are funding right now 2 independent expenditures against me to the tune of $40 million. Because they know that they would, much rather have a weaker candidate run against Jerry Brown. So, all right, great. Yeah, right there.
Interesting, I should follow that question. I am a public school teacher, and I've been teaching 12 years and currently at an underperforming middle school in Riverside County, Moreno Valley. And I'm like you, I want great schools. But I often hear people complain that the problem is we need to put the good teachers at the bad schools. Well, I'm kind of depressed to think that I'm part of the problem. What do you think the big problem is in public education, and what do you want to do once you get in there?
Great. Well, you're not part of the problem. You are part of the solution. So here's what I think we ought to do about public school education in California, because it is simply not acceptable. It's getting very hard to justify that we are so lowly rated in science and math and English. So the first thing is we have to get more money into the classroom. Today, only 56% of all the money that California spends on the education system goes into the classroom. Think about that. So that means 44% goes to administration and overhead. For those of you who run businesses, if you ran your business with 44% overhead, you would be out of business. So let's take the money we spend, allocate more to the classroom. Secondarily, we have to take control away from Sacramento around education. We've got to put the control and the money down where it was originally supposed to be, at the district level, because that's closest to the children and it's where parents have some influence as to what goes on. So we have to take the categorical spending and put it into block grants down at the school district level. We've got to give the school districts a chance to run this. And then I want to give parents a chance to hold the school districts accountable. So here's what I think we ought to do. We ought to grade every single public school, A through F, a simple letter grade. And then we need to tell the parents. And you know who did this? Florida did this. 11 years ago, Florida undertook a complete change in how they approached public education and has paid remarkable dividends. But I was talking to Jeb Bush, who did this under his administration, and he said, when we told parents their third grader was in an F school, the parents got pretty interested. So that's the first thing. Second is I want to increase the number of charter schools. Charter schools work because the teachers and the principals have more authority. So let's make it easier to start a charter school. And I'll make one last observation here. We have to set a big goal. You know, we can't say, well, let's hope we move from 48th to 47th. I think we ought to set the goal of having the #1 public school system in America again. So thanks for that question. I appreciate it. Way up in the back.
Hi, I'm a stay-at-home mom from Costa Mesa. I heard one of your opponents speak about illegal immigration and cracking down on it, and I wanted to know your take on the greater problem of illegal immigration in California.
Good, great question, and thank you for asking it. So immigration is a very important issue, and let me start out by saying I think there is a way forward here, and let me outline my plan. I am 100% against amnesty. It's not the right thing for California, and it's not the right thing for the United States of America. So here's what we have to do. First is we have to secure the border of the United States of America. And I had a very interesting morning on the border between California and Mexico, and the truth is we have not done everything we possibly could to secure this border, and we must. Second, we have to build what I call an economic fence, which means we have to hold employers accountable for hiring documented workers. And third, we have to eliminate sanctuary cities. They are in direct violation of federal immigration law, and they are not the right thing. And the very best example of this is San Francisco. So let's eliminate sanctuary cities.
We're going to take a quick break here, but now this is a great chance for you to get involved in Meg's campaign, as well as getting the latest policy paper as well, and it's very easy. All you have to do is go to megwhitman.com. That's easy. We'll be right back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
The questions have been great.
Yeah, very good, very good.
You could tell even back in early 1999 when eBay was a small company that Meg knew what she was doing.
She has this ability to come to a very confusing situation, take a look, and figure out what the right thing to do is.
There was no playing things loose or close to the edge. We were going to do things the right way because ultimately that's the way you build a company to last.
She was always asking us to be as efficient as possible, to be as frugal as possible.
She gets in at the heart of the issue and she'll bring people together to resolve a problem. She's a problem solver.
She listens to people around her, and she will seek different and often conflicting points of view.
She makes people feel heard and makes them feel valued, but ultimately she's looking to make the right decision.
We can fix California, no question about it. It's going to take a different style of leadership, it's going to take a different approach, but we can make California great again.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you. Welcome back to Ask Meg. We are here, of course, with Republican candidate for the governor's office of the great state of California, Meg Whitman. We've been getting a lot of terrific questions all night. I know we've got a lot to talk about, so go ahead. Take it away.
Well, thank you very much. Again, thank you for coming. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this book that we have just produced on the campaign. And it really is my very detailed policy agenda on everything from jobs, how we're going to cut government spending, how we're going to fix our education system. The question about immigration is in here. So I want everyone to get a copy of this. You can go to the website at megwhitman.com and get a copy of this. And it is really quite detailed. I hope you will enjoy reading it. But this is not only the platform I'm running on, this is how I'm going to govern. So thanks for holding that for me.
No problem.
All right. Yeah, right there.
Hi, I'm Mary Jean Duran, and the state of California spends about somewhere, depending on what the current budget cut is, somewhere between $7 and $9 billion a year on stuff. And the current state of California can't, for the last, I think it's 3 years, have not been able to report how much of that $7 billion they spent with even California-owned businesses. And I was always taught you get what you measure. They don't even measure this stuff yet. So how do you propose to quickly and slowly get a handle on that and cut some of that spending?
This is where my experience as a business executive is going to pay big dividends, because I have been all over this budget. And as I said, we have a spending problem of epic proportions. This is not smart, efficient, well-run government. So here's how I want to tackle this problem. First is, I did a little analysis that everyone in this audience would do. And here's the story. Today, our revenues in the general fund of the state of California are about $85 billion, down from $100 billion because of the recession. So I said, all right, when was the last time we had revenues of $85 billion? It turns out it was just 5 years ago, 2004, 2005. And I said, all right, how many people did we have working for the state just 5 years ago? Turns out, 40,000 fewer employees. And it's not frontline employees, it's not the CHP, it's not CAL FIRE, it is the bureaucracy. And what happens in Sacramento, if the money's coming in, they're spending it. And so the first thing we have to do is we have got to reduce the number of state employees back down to where we were 5 years ago. You know, in business, if the revenue's not coming in, you have to cut expenses. Why this is so hard to understand for people in Sacramento, I do not know. But we're going to have to reduce the workforce by about 40,000 people. We can do that through attrition. About 12,000 civil servants retire or move on in any given year. So 3 years, if we didn't hire another individual, we'd be down by 36,000 workers and be part of the way home towards getting our cost structure. This will also, by the way, help the pension problem that we talked about earlier. If you have fewer people, you'll have less of a pension liability. The second area we have to look at is welfare. Today in California, we have 12% of the population in the United States and 32% of the welfare cases. We have twice the population of New York and 5 times the welfare cases. We have ended up with a welfare system that I don't think is good for our communities, and it's not affordable. So what we're going to have to do is a couple of things. One is we're going to have to require people to work for their welfare benefits. Second, we're going to have to reduce the benefits from sometimes over 5 years back down to 2 years, because welfare can't become a way of life. So that's the second area. The third area we talked about was pension reform. But then fourth, we have got to do what anyone in business does every year, which is utilize technology to do more with less. Every business says, okay, here's what I did last year. How do I do that this year for 10% less. Otherwise, you're out of business. I am from Silicon Valley, 130 miles from Sacramento. It might as well be 100,000 miles from Sacramento in terms of the technology. It frustrates me to no end that the hub of the world's greatest technology is not utilized in Sacramento. So we have to use technology, and I agree with you. What we don't measure, we can't control. And so I am going to be on this like a hawk. You will find there's not another person in this race who is a tougher-minded fiscal conservative than I am. Thanks for that question. All right. Right here in the front row.
I'm Martha House. And, you know, if you put a moratorium on bill introduction, we still have enough laws on the books that drives businesses out of the state. Can you start a repeal process, pull those down and look at them?
Yeah, yes. Very good question. We can start a repeal process, and we can start a simplification process. You know, I was on the Central Coast the other day in town San Luis Obispo, many of you may know it, and I was with a farmer named Mark Teixeira. And he's actually among the largest growers of broccoli and celery in California. And he said, Meg, my water board is telling me I have to recycle all the water on my farm, and the leafy green vegetable law is telling me I can't recycle any of the water on my farm. So I'm happy to do what you want me to do, but frankly, I can't recycle all of the water and none of the water at the same time. And you might think, oh, that's a crazy example. Okay, I actually hear examples like that almost every day on the campaign trail. So let's simplify our regulations, and then let's make it easy to comply. I'll tell you another little story. When I was the CEO of eBay, we wanted to build a new building for our PayPal subsidiary. PayPal, we wanted to have 3,000 white-collar jobs in Silicon Valley. And so, we were going to build this building. And I said, I bet the government of the state of California is going to be my new best friend. They're going to help me get this building built really fast. They want to put these people to work really fast. Hardly. 2.5 years later, 25 permits, 3 consulting firms to navigate the labyrinth of California regulations. And frankly, it's not competitive. The very best state in the union on this is Texas. Texas is not a perfect state by any imagination, but they have created a business climate. On average now, they went from 2 years to 2 months to get permits to do business. They've created a master application where you put your information in as a business. They assign an ombudsman for your industry to help you navigate the regulations. And frankly, the results have been pretty dramatic. In 2008, listen to this statistic. 2008, 52% of all new jobs created in the entire United States were created in Texas. So we know what to do. Trim government spending, streamline regulation, reduce taxes, and you have a business success story like Texas. And Texas is suffering in the recession like every state, but not nearly as much as California or many other states. So we can do that, and we must do it. Yeah, right here in the white.
I'm Jeff Darby. Thinking back to your first day at eBay, one of the key things you'll be looking at is building your team. Obviously, one person cannot, in that case, build a company like eBay. And I think in our case here with California, maybe with the federal situation as well, one person can't do it. How are you thinking of building your team? Are you going back to the experiences and the people that you met in the Valley to help you do that?
Yeah. So really, this is such an important thing, is those appointments that you get, the people who serve on your team. As I said earlier, I did not run eBay by myself. I will not govern California by myself. You are only as good as the people who work with you. So these top 300 appointments are absolutely essential. 200 of those I want to come from the civil service. There are some very good civil servants in California who know a lot. I need to find those individuals and empower them to take on leadership positions around the agenda of jobs and spending and education. But then I think, as I said, we need about 100 of those to come from the private sector, from all sectors around California. And one of the things I want to do is I want to put expertise where it needs to be. Do you remember my story about Mark Teixeira down in the Central Coast? On his water board that regulates largely farmers, there are no farmers on the water board. And this is not an unusual situation. Often we don't have the expertise that we need in the departments and the agencies and the commissions that we need. I'm a big believer that crisis creates opportunity. And I have had so many people come up to me and say, under normal set of circumstances, I wouldn't think about coming up and serving for 2 or 3 years. But what I will need is someone to come and say, listen, I want to give you 3 agencies, 10,000 people, and in 3 or 4 years, I need this to be 2 agencies and 5,000 people, and I need you to work yourself out of a job. And private sector people will be willing to do that. And I have had so many people who have come up to me after rallies and said, I will help. You know, if you end up being governor, you call on me and I will come and help. So that's how we're going to do it.
You know, I think it's great when you look out in this audience and you see so many young faces that are interested in making a new California, and they're here tonight to hear you talk. And I know you have some closing remarks you would like to say to the entire audience. Now's the chance.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, again, let me thank you for coming and spending part of your evening with me. Your engagement in this process is absolutely essential, so I really appreciate your coming. You know, as I said, the reason that I have decided to run for governor of California, it's really very simple. I refuse to let California fail. I just cannot sit by and watch what is happening to this state. You know, California used to lead the nation. California, in many ways, was as much a state of mind as a state. Anything was possible in California. I want to create jobs in California and keep jobs in California. I want to make the government more efficient and effective. I want, after a year in office, every single one of you to come to Sacramento, look at the books, and be proud of how we are spending your money. And today, that would not be possible. I also desperately want to fix our kindergarten through 12th grade education system. If we do not change this, the effects will be profound. We will end up in a second-rate state, we'll end up with a much diminished workforce, and we will end up losing our innovation engine. I'm a big believer in the power of many. I just wrote a new book, which I entitled The Power of Many. What we can do together, none of us can do alone. And I need each and every one of your help to help take back California. We can fix California. And as you noticed, the campaign theme that I use is a new California. And it's interesting, after events like this, people come up to me and they tell me what a new California means to them. Older Californians tell me that they want the California they grew up in, where jobs were plentiful, the roads were new, the kindergarten through 12th grade education system was fabulous, that leaders were bold and courageous, and we did things that no one else could do. Younger people come up to me, and you know what? They want exactly the same thing. And Californians are tired of the bickering. They're tired of not getting anything done. And I think we have an opportunity, really in many ways a historic opportunity, to take back California, to create a new California that our children and our grandchildren will be proud of. And you know, it really matters, because where goes California, goes the country. And so I just want to thank you for coming, and I look forward to building a new California with you. So thanks so much.
Meg Whitman's plan tackles California's 3 biggest challenges: keeping and creating jobs, cutting Sacramento spending, and fixing our education system. Meg's plan calls for targeted tax cuts, a strict spending cap, and sending more money right to the classroom. Read the 48-page plan for yourself. Get your free copy online, via text message, or by phone. Building a new California won't be easy. It starts with the right plan.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement for Meg Whitman for Governor 2010.